Ambe Ambike Jagadambike.
Namaste Guruji. Thoughts keep coming and going, but theoretical understanding that everything keeps arising out of Jaganmatha, even the thoughts. How do I understand the signs from nature? I heard nature is constantly guiding us. Thoughts always come and go every moment, sometimes positive and sometimes negative. Sometimes intuition comes that I need to do something, like that for someone who is trying to always find answers in every small happening in life. How does one feel the guidance that is happening already, or is it all just imagination? Also, what are intuitions?
Regarding, the questioner has asked me to talk a little bit more about on some write-up that I have sent on that particular day. And it says, we not only have no control over the pursuits of the cerebrum, which are separately guided by nuclear actions, but also we would not even be aware of that what we will ponder next day. Such is the position we have over our own thoughts. Any thoughts can crawl at any time. A graveyard or a paradise can come down at any instant. It can be even some event that takes place outwards over which there is no control for us, or a mental calamity, a turbulence in our own psyche. A hurricane throwing away within us can jump up like a tornado and make us believe and feel everything, the ghost or God, whatever it may be. It's supervened. I do not know anything. We will start saying that. But then why shall it happen if we do not know, is what I have sent that day. Search it. So, as the questioner has asked me to reflect on that, to talk a bit more on that, okay, let me talk about the spiritual truth on that. More applying in our lives, how our thoughts go. We imagine we are in control of our mind, but the mind behaves independently is what we should be aware of. Almost like a wild wind governed by deeper forces, the biological, cosmic and karmic. Thoughts arise not by our will, but some deeper orchestration is what we need to observing. We don't summon a dream, yet it happens. Isn't it so? So also, we don't choose which thoughts arise next. Sometimes beauty comes, sometimes terror. And we call it divine or delusion. But either way, we remain caught in its power is what we need to observe. So the question what the questioner or the thing that I sent that day, it has to leave you with a deep Vedantic truth perspective. If I do not know, you should question yourself after reading this is what I was looking at everyone. If I do not, because I have ended with a question. I did not infer anything there. If you look at what I mentioned at the end, that, if I have to say a hurricane throwing away sometimes within us can jump up like a tornado and make us believe and feel everything. The ghost, even the God. Whatever it may be. I have ended that particular statement when I have sent with a question to let you ponder over yourselves. Because, when such thoughts come, sometimes like a ghost, sometimes like a God, then if I ask something to you, why it has happened, when you do not have any answer, you just say that it's supervened, I do not know anything. Then what control we have over our thoughts? And then I have ended with a question, but then why shall it happen if you don't know? So towards that, this particular question, that I have left for you to have another question with yourself, that if I do not know what arises in me, why does it arise at all? What is this mystery? And now this question has to cut through our illusion of control. We think we are in our control. If we think we are in our control, why are we not capable to make our life peaceful? So this question has to cut you through your illusion of control, forcing you to confront who is the real experiencer, who is that I that watches all of this happen. And if you look at the practical insight, instead of trying to control thoughts, what I was mentioning as the passage, it has to point you towards a deeper surrender to the unknown source, is what I meant. Not as a passive resignation, being helpless for whatever that you have been experiencing without knowing about your thoughts, but as a witnessing. Let the thoughts rise and fall. Don't grab or push them off. You start watching and ask, who am I in the midst of all this? This is what we call from the spiritual space as the Jnana Yoga in action, using chaos to reveal the silent center, that which is the real you. And now going to the other part of the question, after speaking a bit about what I have sent, as he has asked, the questioner has asked a couple of things about, further about intuitions and everything. We need to be centered on what are the origin of thoughts and our seeming lack of control over them. The intuition versus imagination. The nature's guidance and how to truly feel it. This is what the questioner has asked. And the deep truth or the philosophical or the Vedantic question of who is the experiencer behind all this turbulence. And if I have to say, this is again a wonderful question, a powerful and healing question. So what we need to do, the silent witness behind the storm, thoughts, intuition, and the mystery of inner guidance. Now we need to look at the nature of thoughts. Who is thinking? We often, very, very often, we assume our thoughts are ours. That's the problem. Ours being ego here. And what we need to, we need to understand, thoughts arise not by command, but spontaneously, triggered by subtle karmas, impressions, what we call as the vasanas, or even shifts in our biology. Any thought, we should remember that any thought can crawl any time. Like I have mentioned, a thought of a graveyard or a paradise can come down at any instant. What does this mean? That we are not authors of this thought, we need to remember that. But we are only its witness. When a storm of emotion arises, anger, shame, sadness, it is not proof of your weakness. It is the play of your energy through the mental field. And that Shakti is playing out of something that needs to be seen and released. So, instead of trying to control the thought, the true path is to witness it. Ask yourself, to whom has this thought arisen? Then start feeling suffering about a turbulent thought. Question yourself, to whom has this thought arisen? And trace it back to the silent witness within you, who is the source of this mind. And intuition versus imagination, if you look at it, how to recognize true guidance from the nature? Is it in imagination? This is what the questioner has asked. Is it really intuitive or imagination? Am I imagining it, or am I looking at it with certain imagination, or is it a real intuition? How to recognize the true guidance? Many seekers have this question, not only this questioner. They want to know, if thoughts are always arising, how do I recognize what is divine guidance? Is it all just imagination? We need to know, and we need to be aware of the distinction. Imagination comes with emotion, restlessness, and storytelling. Intuition is silent, sudden, and very clear and crisp. It arises like a still ripple in a vast lake. True intuition, like a deep settled knowing with a mental debate. You need to recognize this. But to feel that intuition, you need to first cultivate inner calmness through certain daily practices. Like many things. Anyway, we will be starting in next couple of months. And another question the questioner raised, does nature guide us, is also that we need to consider. Yes, but not through a drama. Nature has always been guiding. We are guiding ourselves through a drama. Our mind is guiding us through a drama. But nature's guidance is very subtle, soft, and that which is often ignored by us because we are too loud inside. The call of the nature's address, or the speech of the nature is unheard because we have a loud noise within ourselves. That Jaganmatha, what you referred as, those signs appear in a sentence that keeps repeating in your head. A stranger saying exactly what you needed to hear. A quiet nudging feeling that something is right or wrong. Dreams are strong pulls that feel like destiny, not a desire. But this makes sense to one like the seekers who has the trust and patience. Not to get a more niceful mind. If you are always reading into everything, it creates anxiety. So the very first step is stillness, not analysis. Let Jaganmatha guide, but only after you have made space for her. She has already been there. Now another question we need to catch up. Why does it happen if we do not know? And I said one statement here. I mentioned a statement. Why does it happen if we do not know? That arises from our replies, or when we respond, why did you feel turbulent, or why did you see a ghost, or why did you see a god? When you are not clear about your mind, the answer goes, it's just supervened. I do not know anything. We will say so, isn't it so? But then why shall it happen if you don't know? It's absolute knowledge and awareness pointer. If we do not know where thoughts come from, who thinks them or what guides them? Who thinks them and what guides life? Then who really are we? This is the call of the truth of this Vedanta, Upanishads. To turn inward, not outward. To rest not in mental mastery, but in surrender to the unknown. To know the self not by grasping, but by letting go. So, it is important to conclude this. Let's not try to control thoughts, witness them. Let's treat our emotions as weather, not identity. Let's cultivate silence daily to hear true intuition. Let us ask ourselves daily, who is watching? This is something which is, again, very important. You will be capable to be doing so only when we practice the preceding pointers that I mentioned just now. So this is very important. You need to ask about yourself daily, who is watching all this, before even you are trying to tagging yourself with all kinds of noises as yourself, which is not right. So when there are certain signs that appear as the Jaganmathas, just surrender. If this is her will, let it happen. And it is important that we seek not clarity in thoughts, but in presence. This is very important. As in, Nirvana Shatkam, we say Mano Buddhyahamkar Chittaninaham Nacha Shrotra Jihve Nacha Grana Netre न च व्योमभूमिः न तेजो न वायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्. I am not this or that, not mind, I am not tagging myself with my mind and its thoughts. That makes us capable to be looking back who we really are. And with the thoughts on Jaganmatha, the question arises: all thoughts, positive, negative, intuitive, or noisy, arise from the same source, the Shakti or the Jaganmatha. If you look at Sri Vidya or Khadgamala, Sarva Sankshobhini, Sarva Vidravini, there is nothing that cannot be existent without her presence. Everything is her presence. Even the anger. This is what Durga Saptasloki tells. Jnaninam api chetamsi Devi Bhagavati hisa baladakrushya mohaya mahamaya prayachyati. I am the knowledge of the most knowledge. I am the ignorance of the most ignorant. It's only the Jaganmatha who is present is what we need to understand. Just like waves of the ocean, they are her play, the Leela. But they don't all carry the same weight or truth is what we need to understand. We need to look at nature's guidance versus imagination. Yes, nature is always guiding us as we talked about, but not through every random thought of our mind. Jaganmatha's guidance is very subtle, not loud. And it appears, certain indicators I'll tell you, a quiet knowing that does not argue. It is Jaganmatha's presence. Of course, even in the argument, it is Jaganmatha's presence who is correcting you by giving you a pain, and the pain that is created by your mind. Another indicator, a sense of inner alignment or expansion, not contraction. The coincidences that feel too precise to ignore, the what we call as the synchronicity. And dreams that leave a lasting clarity. This is Jaganmatha's presence. Repeated messages from different sources. Like someone suddenly appears in front of you, talks what you need. But to hear or experience the presence of the Jaganmatha, our mind needs to be quiet enough to differentiate between noise and signal. That's the reason why sadhana is very key. Just knowing through mind doesn't help us unless it is put into a practice. And that sadhana only purifies and stills the mind, is what we need to look at. And then what is intuition? The question also talks about intuition. The direct knowing without reasoning is intuition. There is no logic there. It comes from the deeper intellect, the buddhi, the higher intellect, not the restless mind. That's just a hallucination. Intuition is like a clear mirror, is what we need to understand. It reflects truth instantly without any distortion. That is intuition. Mental noise feels very urgent, anxious or compulsive, but intuition feels calm, clear and arises quietly. And now how to recognize this real guidance, what the questioner has asked about. How to recognize? Is it imagination? How to recognize it? The discernment is important. We need to practice viveka, the discernment, through regular introspection to be capable to recognize the real guidance. sit with a thought or a sign without reacting. If it is true guidance, it will stay and deepen. If it is just emotion, it will just fade away. Offer every thought to the Jaganmatha's feet and say, if this is your will, let it happen. If not, take it away. I don't mind. I am at your lotus feet. The more surrendered and centered we are, the more we naturally align with her flow, the Jaganmatha's flow. Then the whole universe becomes yourself, or being yourself as the Guru. There we conclude this question.